Good morning. Strictly speaking, oh, it is still the morning because it's 11:59. That's what I wanted. I like to be able to say that it's still the morning when I come on here. So we've had a slight transgression, my friends. As you know, I've been trying not to buy anything this year. That has been the goal, to buy nothing, and I've been doing really, really well. So I don't know how, in my quest to get rid of my coats, some of them, don't know how in that quest I ended up this week buying this. Guys, I was so tizzed out in Barcelona with that heavy. It's such a light jacket, but it's just not suitable for running. It's really dragging me down, and I wasn't even running. So I thought, okay, we need to sort this out. I've got a perfect little bag for my drum and bass rides. We just need a perfect little coat. So I saw this. As you can tell, it's a bit too big for me, but it was on sale. It was the last one. It's actually 3 sizes too big for me, but I think it's perfect because I want some room around this area, the armpit area, and I feel like it's perfect because it's, you know, it's a down jacket. It's from Muji. Muji's one of my favorite stores for basic Japanese gear, and it's easy for me to buy because from Muji, because we have Muji in the UK, we have them in Europe. I don't know if you have it in America or not, but it's such a great store for staples. And this is a down, so it's really thin. Like it's so thin, but it's one of those downs that traps air. Japanese technology, my friends, Japanese technology. They know what they're doing. So it's very deceiving to the eye because it looks like, how can this possibly keep you warm when you're in London? But I think it does. I really do. I'm hopeful anyway. But I think this is going to be an investment piece, and it was a bit of a steal in terms of price because it was the last one and the size is extra large. So I don't feel bad about buying it, except it just means that I'd had this goal of just only buying 5 things this year, and I'd done a really good job, but there was this pair of New Balance, or a pair of New Balance, that I still needed to get for my runs. It's all for drum and bass, all for the love of the bass, okay? So yeah, we just need a pair of sneakers, trainers, but maybe that will have to wait till the new year so that I can keep to my little goal of just having 5 things. But obviously if I find the right pair of New Balance, I might not even get New Balance. Maybe I'll have to get Asics, or maybe I'll try Brooks. I'm not sure really. Brooks just don't look like they have the longevity that I'm looking for. Asics looks a bit clunky, and these days the New Balance look clunky too. But this video is not about trainers or sneakers. What do you think, guys? Do you think and I feel like it's an investment piece, and I'm really proud of myself. So one thing that I didn't have in my wardrobe, I think it'll be suitable for European rides, and it'll be perfect for London rides as well, because I just won't be carrying, it's so light, I can just wrap it around my shoulders and be able to dance. That's the goal, to be able to dance. So as soon as okay, we need to start off with some music. Do you want to hear it? This is like my favorite track from the set that was played in Barcelona. I love it so much. I'm not a lyrics girl. I'm a bass girl. I'm a beats girl. So I very rarely listen to lyrics. But this track actually gets me focusing a little bit on the lyrics. Just a few minutes whilst I get my thoughts in order, and then I think I'm going to be here for a while today. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those videos. Here we go. Never knew I could feel the light. Oh, screaming loud, knowing it never felt so right. Was it broken hearted.
All the energy rushing through your body. Breathe. Try to focus when you put your hands on me. I was reaching out. Never knew I could feel the light. I was screaming loud, knowing it never felt so right. Was it real? Or was I fighting for existence? How did it feel? Looking
He's so good at these transitions. And this set had a lot of very, very nice transitions. There's a couple of other tracks I want to play for you. One, which is one of my favorite tracks, but also there's another track that just makes me smile. But maybe later. What did I want to talk about today? It's all sort of related to... So as soon as I got on that flight, you guys had seen me crashing, and I don't have time to crash. I really don't. When I crash, I need to pick myself straight back up. One of the things I really envy about creatives is that they're allowed to wallow in their emotions. They're allowed to stay in their emotions, because part of being creative is being able to harness those emotions and create something incredible, whether it's music or writing or dance or whatever it is. Those emotions fuel that creativity. But the current world that I'm living in, I can't allow myself to stay in those emotions. And so, like a robot, as soon as I got on that flight, I just had to switch gear. And then by the time, I feel like this is unnatural, my lips are too red. By the time I landed in London, by the time I landed in London, I was already in London mode. I think the thing with London is that I've just been here for too long, but it's actually a really great city, because as soon as I got to the airport, it was okay, it was fine. I think I just need variety, and I need change. It's a very, very important thing to me. It fuels my creativity and my happiness. So London's great as long as I have the opportunity to be in and out, or have it as my main base and be somewhere else. And that's, you know, that's all down to me. If I want that, then I have to create that. No one's going to hand that to me. And so whenever you see me having those moments where I'm crashing, just know that immediately I have to pull myself out and just move along, move along. I didn't really express how exciting that ride was, that event. You can't really feel the essence of what it's like watching those videos back, those rides back, especially because the people that are surrounding the DJ, they're actually quite mellow. The section that I was in, these guys were going off. I mean, they were really, really feeling the music. And I'd go as far as to say that they're the ones that were actually really interesting to watch and observe. And so the great thing about being able to walk this ride was that I was really able to enjoy watching people. There was one Asian guy, and by Asian I mean ethnically Chinese, or from that type of region. Oh my gosh, he was such a good dancer, and I haven't seen those type of moves in such a long time. It's very intuitive, very relaxed, and it's an old school type of drum and bass riding. The Spanish really feel drum and bass, but they don't really know how to dance to drum and bass, and this is not a critique. It's very rare to find people who know how to dance to drum and bass. You don't really even see it in the UK, but the old school heads, they know how to dance like that. And I say the Asians know how, Asians as in Chinese, Japanese, they know how to dance like that. Some of them, and also it's an Eastern European thing as well. They know that movement too. But this guy, I caught him somewhere in the middle of the ride, and I just stood watching him because he was so relaxed in his movements. It was beautiful to watch. And it almost felt like he just happened on the ride, like he wasn't part of it, which made it even more kind of cool because you can never take drum and bass out of a drum and bass head. You just can't. It's just part of them. It'll be part of them forever. There was another Asian guy, ethnically Asian guy, who was at the same point throughout the ride as me, and he was really feeling the music. I enjoyed watching him too. There were quite a few people like that, even a couple of Spaniards. There was one older gentleman. Facially, he looked sort of young, but he had grey hair, but he was very, very slim, and he just went off. And at the end, I happened on him again, and I said to him, I spoke in English, but I gestured because I wasn't sure if he would be able to understand me or not. And I said, "You're a good dancer. You know what's up." And I think he understood. He understood. He was so impressive to me. And I have to also mention, I always talk about preferring natural skin on men. I like natural skin. What can I say? It doesn't mean that I judge people who have tattoos. I notice it, of course I notice it, and the Barcelonians, they have a lot of tattoos, the girls included. But it doesn't mean I judge them. I just notice it and I move on. There was this one guy, he was absolutely stunning. The type of guy that you look at and you're just like, good dear son, good dear Lancelot, you are a looker. The kind of guy that you just want to look at him and just tell him straight off the bat, you're just a beauty. That kind of beauty. And he was skinny toned, which is the physique that I really like on a man as well. And then he had tattoos, writing style tattoos, line tattoos rather than picture tattoos. And then the creme de la creme on top of all of that, he had scribbles all over his face. And I'm looking at him, no judgment. The extent of my thoughts are, this beautiful man has scribbles on his face. I wonder why he did that. And that's it. That's where the thinking stops. I don't take it to an extra level of judgment. It's just not how I operate. I don't want to be I'm in no position to be judgmental of anyone. Until I figure out my own life, I have no place to be. But even when I do figure out my own life, I still wouldn't be in a place. What does it even mean to be judgmental of people? It's just an ego boost. It just makes you briefly feel better than other people, but for what purpose? What purpose does it actually serve? This is why I really don't understand the whole manosphere thing. and the female version, because it's literally a bunch of people just judging each other. Doesn't make any sense to me. I'll talk about me successfully getting through those 10 days without the internet in a second. But I'm looking at this guy and he's doing really, I mean, he's in his late 20s and he's doing wheelies on his bike. And I'm just looking at every time I catch him in my peripheral or around me, I'm just thinking, you're such a beautiful man. And then I'm also thinking, I wonder what made you put those scribbles on your face. But he was absolutely stunning. And you know, tattoos can be removed, I guess. But people like him really interest me because imagine having that level of beauty where you don't need to do anything to that kind of beauty. You can just leave that kind of beauty well alone. But imagine having that level of beauty and thinking that you can enhance it by writing over your face. And again, I'm not critiquing this guy. I would have quite liked to have spoken to him actually, but yeah, it wasn't one of those days when I really kind of spoke to people. It wasn't one of those days. Don't think I spoke to anyone, in fact. But yeah, I enjoyed just watching people. Was there anyone else I thought was absolutely beautiful? There was one guy who was in his window. So the cool thing about Barcelona is that you have these old buildings. And I also figured out, you guys, why Barcelona is not, or Spain rather. I think I figured out why Spain, Italy, and although I've traveled there, particularly in Spain, I've been to quite a few places in Spain, but I've never felt like it's my place. Similarly with Italy, I've never felt like it's my place. I can kind of talk about that in a second, but the cool thing about Barcelona is that they have these beautiful old buildings, sort of similar to what you would see in central London. And people just come out of, when they hear the music, they come out onto their balconies and they just watch the whole thing. The thing that surprises me is if that was me, I would just be running. I would be running out of my apartment and joining the crowd. But they're quite happy, these people, to just watch from the balcony. There's one really beautiful guy who was just, you know, not even wearing anything, completely nude on top. And he had a really lovely physique, slim, toned, slim, a little bit more muscly, I guess, than this skinny guy with scribbles all over his face. But I just enjoyed just watching him as well. And I thought, I think I really enjoy BC, you guys. And it's not just about, you don't have to be absolutely stunning. I think it's about a vibe. And I think a lot of people in Barcelona have a vibe. Something that I rarely notice in London, and it's something that frustrates me a little bit because obviously I need to date at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And that's a limitation for me, that people in the UK or in London at least just don't have a vibe, which means I have to date outside of London. These are complications. But these guys in Barcelona, they have a vibe. They really have a vibe. So I just enjoyed watching this guy as well. I think the thing about the Spanish is that they're very comfortable in their bodies too, both the girls and the men. Even if they don't have perfect physiques, they still are very comfortable in their skin. I mean, my focus is obviously on the men because I don't need to explain that. But even when I noticed some girls who don't have perfect what is perfect? But you know, I guess I have a particular look in girls that I think is really attractive as well. But even when they don't have that kind of body, they're very, very comfortable in their bodies. It's quite interesting to me. It's really, really interesting. And I think this is the thing with warm countries. They're very comfortable in their bodies. So I was thinking about why I've never really, although I've enjoyed visiting places like Spain and Italy, it's never really felt like home to me. Whereas there are other places that I go to, For example, if I go to Tokyo, if I go to cities, certain cities in Germany, it feels kind of right to me. And I think it will be the same if I go to places in Scandinavia. I think it will be the same if I go to just the Germanic countries. And I think the reason for that is because even though I'm also very passionate and warm-blooded, part of it, I guess, is that you're attracted to your opposite sometimes. It doesn't always have to be that way. I think part of it is that these areas and cities feel like the future to me. Whereas with Italy and Spain, even though the Italians, particularly in places like Milan, they can be very well dressed, it still doesn't feel like the future to me. And it makes me smile because I often say to you guys that I'm traditional. I don't actually think I'm even traditional. I think I have certain values that I am comfortable with sticking to, and those values those are my values. That's my value system, and I refer to that to operate my life. But I think actually in many ways I'm a modernist. And whilst I really appreciate old architecture and old traditions, I think instinctively I'm drawn to modernistic, is that a word? Modernistic and futuristic places. And so when I step into a place like Tokyo, it feels like the future is happening. It feels like things are advancing. It feels like there's a rush, there's a pace, there's a fastness to it, which you just don't feel in places in warmer countries. And maybe that's because of the heat. Maybe that laid backness is partly related to the heat. But it's also, I think, because they keep their cultures and countries in the same spot. Change doesn't happen in a very fast way. And that's actually why London is a really perfect spot for me in many ways as well, because if you go into Central, that fastness and that pace is there. It feels like things are happening. But at the same time, what I like about warm countries like Italy and Spain is that they are very comfortable within themselves and they show their passion very easily. They don't hide themselves. They're not afraid of showing who they are. Whereas countries, the cooler countries, they're stoic. You never really get to see who is really underneath the surface that they are portraying. And I suppose that's one of the struggles I had with Tokyo. Potentially it would be a struggle with the Scandinavians and the Germanic countries as well. You never really, that passion and that hotness, it's just not there. So yeah, maybe I need to date people from the hot countries as a change up, to change things up. But I think pace and change is what really sort of drives me. I really thought about how to express that because culture is so interesting and fascinating. And when I talk about countries and people, it's never as a form of critique. It's just to show the differences between people, and what might suit me might not necessarily suit someone else. So I did check tickets for Madrid tomorrow, but I actually have something on tomorrow. So even if I were to find a ticket, which is unlikely, I think, at this stage, going there, the ticket's a nice deal. Coming back, not so much. I potentially could find the right ticket between now and tomorrow morning, but just having to cancel this thing in the morning wouldn't be good form so late in the day. And that's okay. Even though I haven't been to Madrid, it would be kind of cool to go to Madrid, I think. I'm holding out on this one location in Europe. It's a cooler country. The reason that I really want to go to this country is because the DJ did one of the best sets in this country, and the crowd, I really liked the crowd. They were respectful, and I think that's what I also like about the Barcelonians. They're so passionate, but they're very respectful, I think, of the DJ as well. And I notice when, like, I think in the UK, sometimes I suppose the UK rides don't interest me as much because the fashion isn't there, the vibe isn't there, and maybe the respect for the DJ. I mean, everyone respects him, but I mean, what do I mean? Just being respectful of his space rather than what he does. I think everyone respects what he does, but sometimes on the UK rides, I feel like people don't respect his space, perhaps. And actually, out of all the rides that occurred in the UK this year, it was only the Dublin ride that I was really sort of like wowed by. But that's not the UK, or is it? It's Dublin. I really need to fix this understanding between Northern Ireland and Ireland. Is Northern Ireland in the UK, or is it Ireland that's in the UK? Northern Ireland, UK or Europe? Yeah, Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland's part of the United Kingdom. So he went to Dublin, which is part of the EU. Um, so yeah, I'm not buying things this year allows me to feel like it's okay to invest in this passion of drum and bass. And I'm gonna get there. I just need some sneakers, some trainers, and I also need to figure out this ride as well. 28 minutes. There was so much I wanted to talk about today. There's one other thing that was really pertinent. Something happened in the airport that I wanted to talk to you guys about, but I think it sort of lost its moment. There was an American guy just after I uploaded. There was an American guy who was speaking to a British girl who had spent half her time out of the UK. And this guy had Riz. He wasn't absolutely stunning to look at, but this is what I mean by vibe, you guys. He had so much vibe. He had such a vibe. And I kind of wanted to talk about him in more detail, but I sort of lost the enthusiasm for it. But this guy had Riz. And after I left you guys, I went and sat very close to them, like a couple of seats back, because our conversation was so interesting. And he was yeah, he was very comfortable in trying to pick her up. And it's a kind of art form when you see it in real time. Some guys are so effortless in being able to do this. And I really enjoyed watching him as he was trying to do it. It was so casual, no desperation. He was so comfortable in his own skin. Without going into detail, what was really interesting about him is that he was very curious about her. He asked her so many questions about her. It seems like he was genuinely interested in her. I've said to you guys before, in one of the John Griffin videos, he was like, just ask questions to women because they just want to talk about themselves. But it felt sort of disingenuous because I think if you're not really interested in people, it's very obvious when it's being done in a fake way. But this guy was genuinely interested in her and he was asking such interesting questions of her. So, and I think he was one of these people who just had people skills. And so I think naturally, men and women who like people tend to be able to speak to the opposite sex in a very casual and natural way, which doesn't put them on any kind of pedestal. You're just interested in that person, and naturally the vibe is there, and yeah, he impressed me. He really impressed me. And I in my other video I was saying that American people probably should travel more because then they get to see the world and what's going on in the world, all the bad stuff in the world wouldn't be happening because Americans would be invested in the world and they would understand how their politics affects everyone else. This guy, he was so interesting because he was talking to her and he said, I love traveling. He said, I really love traveling. He was so young, early 20s, max late 20s. He was saying to her, I really love traveling. And I don't know what she asked him, but he said, oh, I'm not going to have to work until April. So he said, I kind of work half the year and then I take half the year off and just travel. So he said, I'm not going to have to work until April. And I was really baffled by this because I really wanted to know. So my question naturally, if I had been speaking to him, my friends, would have been, oh, what is it that you do that allows you to have this freedom? She didn't ask him that, which really took me by surprise. Like that's the natural, it feels like the very natural question to ask. So we missed that very crucial aspect of the conversation, you guys. But I thought, right on. He was in Barcelona, obviously. He was going to London next. And then at some point, people that he knew were in the queue to board. Him, this guy and this girl, like myself, we were one of the last ones to get on. But he said, hey guys, to the people in the queue. So at some point I thought, are these people army people? Potentially, I'm not sure. But you could tell that this guy was not a typical, what is a typical American? He wasn't a run-of-the-mill American. He knew about the world, and it was reflected in the questions that he was asking her. So I would have loved to actually sit and talk to both of these people because she was so interesting too. I think this requires another video, but she was one of these girls who, like him, she wasn't typically striking. Like you wouldn't look at her or him and think, wow, they're beauties. Not like this guy with the scribbles all over his face in Barcelona. But both of them had a vibe and both of them were interesting and charismatic. And by the end of it, after listening to their conversation, I found both of them incredibly attractive. And interestingly, the girl ended up being on my row of seats, but there was a woman in the middle of us. So I couldn't speak to her, but had that woman not been there, I would have had a lovely conversation with this girl. She was cool and she was very comfortable in her feminine wiles, I would say. She knew what she was doing. In the end, he wasn't able to get her details or her number. He wanted to sit next to her, and very casually he said, I think we should sit next to each other. She had a boyfriend, and she was impressive because she made it very clear that she had a boyfriend because she could see where this was going. She was young, but she was actually in the process of breaking up with this guy. I shouldn't be telling you all this, but you will never find out who these people are, so it's fine. But that's part of their conversation was in relation to why she was about to break up with him. And he was so interested, he was so invested, and he was so curious, and it was done in such a genuine way. So yeah, I left thinking, this is a representation. This is a really good representation of Gen Z. And I like this type of Gen Z, and I want to be around this type of Gen Z. She was cool. She was fun. She had something about her. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. And just before I go, I wanted to also mention that when I was flying out to Barcelona, I got seated in the middle of a couple, an older American couple, ethnically Filipina, but American. the guy was on this side of me and the woman was on this side. And I said, would you like to sit next to each other and I'll take this seat? And the lady, the wife was like, no, I want to be near the window. And the husband was like, I want to sit next, I want to be in the aisle. So I sat in the middle. One thing you should know about me is that I never ever take pictures with people ever. Like never, never, ever, ever, unless they are, you know, family or boyfriend or whatever, or like friends that I've known for a very long time. Comes to the whole privacy thing. But this lady, she just takes out her phone after we've had this very long conversation between myself and her husband, and my head's swiveling this way and that way as I'm trying to include both of them in this conversation. She just takes out her phone, and just says, okay, let me take a picture and show my daughter, because she said that her daughter really wanted to be on one of these rides. She knew about this drum and bass ride, but her daughter apparently couldn't see it being worth her traveling all the way into Europe to attend one of these rides. And so the mum, the lady, she just wanted to snap a picture to show her daughter. And I was just like, okay, fine. I just didn't feel like saying, oh, I don't really take pictures with strangers, blah, blah, blah. So she snapped me. Because in my head, I was thinking, I'm just about to get papped on hundreds and thousands of tourist shots. I think it's that it's okay if I'm being papped in the sea, sort of. It's not even okay then. But in a sea of people, it's fine. But being specifically with people that I don't know, who are these people? I don't know who these people are. That makes me somewhat a little bit cautious. Anyway, she snapped this picture. So now I have been probably sent to all her friends and family in San Francisco in California. They were about to go on a cruise. They were very, very nice people. And we had a really nice conversation. And the lady, the wife, the mother, she said to me at the end, don't you have anyone that you could come with? Like any friends or anything like that? And I found myself sort of trying to over explain myself. And I never do that, you guys. But I found myself doing that. So I was like, oh, well, I don't know many people who listen to drum and bass, and I'm going to be running, and probably not many people want to run. And then I stopped myself and I said to her, but actually, I just love doing this kind of thing on my own, because that's the reality. The reality is that I don't need to be with people to do this kind of thing. And I felt like, what? Why am I explaining myself? These answers I'm giving her. Sure, they're part of the reason why I go on these things on my own. There are no friends to go with. Secondly, I do want to run, and I don't want to have to worry about someone else not wanting to run. But really, it's that I don't want to be taking care of someone. And I think the only way that you can achieve that is by being with a lover, or with family, or people that you have known for a very, very long time, so that you can go off in your own direction, do your own thing, and then maybe meet at the end. But really, this is my time. These events, it's just all about me. It's all about not nurturing me and doing something that I love, not having to think about anyone else. It's just about me being at one with the music, with the people, with the DJ, with a group of people who love music and dancing and this thing that's being created. So I really had to have a word with myself afterwards. Like, I could have just said, oh no, I just love coming to these things on my own. But she found it really unusual and odd. And I'm so used to doing things on my own. I just don't see it as being strange or weird. To me, that's normal. In fact, oh, that song that I wanted to play for you, I'll play it for you. You guys can leave in a second if you want to, but I have to play you something that's so funny, it makes me laugh. In fact, there was a couple on this ride, and they were holding hands throughout the whole time that they were in my vicinity. And there was that one moment of me thinking, even in a place of music and movement, there's a restriction. Maybe it's not a restriction to that. Maybe they love holding each other's hands. But I think that's one thing that I guess, being part of a couple, it's like you always have to be in each other's worlds. And I don't think that's not how I would want my relationship to be. You need space from each other. You need to have your own interests and passions. And even if you both love drum and bass and you want to be there, maybe they just want to. Who am I to say what they... You get it though, guys. You get it, right? That's that one moment where just let loose and just have your own time with the music. So you guys know, I had to talk about Osho as well. Someone ordered this book this week and I cancelled the order, and I apologized profusely, and I said to them, it's the one book that I really love and I actually need to read it again, but I might put it back up for sale. I don't know why I put it up for sale, because yes, there are some controversies around Osho, but I think there are two books of his that are really important and special to me, and I have both. One of them is this one. I think his understanding of love is a very, very good understanding of love and relationships and freedom. The title is Love, Freedom, Aloneness, right? Even with the controversy surrounding him, and even though he was quite apparently freedom loving when it came to love and lovemaking. So, you know, with anything, with everything and anything, I take what applies to me and what I agree with and what I think is right, and I discard the rest. So I felt a little bit bad. I will read it all this week, I think. This is the one book I'm going to be focusing on this week. And then maybe I'll give it back to this person, put it back up so that she can buy it again. The 10 days being off YouTube was amazing. You can see the difference, you guys. You can see the difference. Maybe this is because I'm still high off that drum and bass ride. That potentially could be it as well. I got a change of scenery, change of vibe, change of people, change of atmosphere. But yeah, I think definitely being off the internet helps too. So as you guys know, I haven't enjoyed having a cold shower for the past 5 years. The reason for that, I mean, I haven't enjoyed having a shower for the past 5 years. The reason for that is because I take cold showers every day. It's probably the least enjoyable thing that I do, one of the least enjoyable aspects of my day. But I can attest to the effect it has on me physically, mentally, and it's something that I'll just not give up. And the reason I got into it is because, of course, of Wim Hof, which a man who I've talked about in a previous video a long, long time ago. But there was a period where, before I started my channel, I'd gone through a really rough period, and these cold showers were instrumental in helping me just get through the day. So it was with much joy and pleasure and amusement that I hear this drum and bass track, and I'm like, people are so creative and so interesting and so cool. This MC has written a whole drum and bass track about Wim Hof, and the lyrics, if you listen to the lyrics, they're cold in a good way. Listen to this. Listen to this. 1 second. And then I really must go.
How can I be so cold like it's not effort? It's the Wim Hof method. Other MCs have been hot-headed. Then they tried sending for me, but they credit. And they ain't got my number. They're feeling the heat. I'm still rocking a jumper. Could have been 1,000,000 degrees, but to me, it would still feel like it was a minus number. Still feel like it was a minus number.
Wim Hof method.
Wim Hof. feels like it's a minus number. Meanwhile, it's tucked under me jumper. Leonidas kick type a pumper. Deep fried and zipped up, you done know.
Please don't allow any gaps in the traffic. Please do not allow any gaps.
Mile if you will ever relent it. You know while I'm cool, come and respect it. Give a smile to fools that will resent it.
Meanwhile, I'm cool, calm, respected. I love it.
That will resent it. Give a smile to fools that will resent it. It's the Wim Hof method. How can I be so cold like it's not effort? It's the Wim Hof method. Other MCs have been hot-headed, got deaded, tried sending for me, but they've not got credit. And they ain't got my number, they're feeling the heat, I'm still rocking a jumper. Could have been a million degrees, but to me, I still feel like it was a minus number. Still feel like it was a minus number.
I just love it. The stuff that's coming out in terms of drum and bass and the lyrical stuff, the things that they come out with, it's just so quirky, so creative, so unusual, so new, so fresh. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it.